The practice of retakes actually began with a man named Benjamin Bloom. And if you're teaching in the States, you are familiar with Bloom's taxonomy. So the same guy who invented Bloom's taxonomy is the same one who invented retakes. My name is Yel Bass. I am I'm a former Spanish teacher, and I make videos to help or to inspire teachers. So do not forget to like or subscribe to this channel. Sadly, this policy of unlimited retakes is not exclusive to my previous school site. There are many schools across the country here in the United States that have used similar policies using words such as mastery-based grading or retaking for mastery. And the teacher therapy channel actually has featured teachers talking about this grading policy and how terrible it is. The practice of retakes actually began with a man named Benjamin Bloom, and he was an American psychologist who contributed to objectives and mastery learning, and he is the guy who invented Bloom's taxonomy. And if you're teaching in the United States, you know what I'm talking about. So that guy invented the retake policies. He believed that assessments after student learning is proof whether or not the teacher's instruction was appropriate for the students. And there's nothing inherently wrong with this at all, but his idea does not consider whether or not the student was engaged in class, whether or not the student was awake in that class, or even if the student, whether or not he or she cares about their education. His idea on evaluation actually demonstrates that the success of students is primarily reliant on teachers' instruction. So that's where the problem arises, because it doesn't require student accountability. It isn't the teacher's fault if a student spent all night playing video games and does terribly on an assessment the next morning. He also believes that students who do well on the initial assessment, the first time the assessment was given, that those students should receive additional enrichment activities and inquiry. So the problem with this is that I can just tell you that what students would say to this, the students who actually studied the night before and not played video games, they would tell you that I studied all night, I paid attention, I did what I was supposed to do, and I have to do extra work while all the other students get an extra day to study for the assessment. That's not fair. And I totally understand that point, but that's what's happening in many schools today. Bloom argues that students in the real world will be able to remedy their mistakes in the same way that retakes represents the remediation of their learning. And I agree. You know, in the professional world, you're not expected to be perfect either. But the thing is that students should be expected to put in the initial effort on the assessment, to study and to do what they're supposed to be doing. But many students who retake assignments are the ones who don't even try the first time, who will say, oh, I don't feel like doing the assignment today because I feel heartbroken, or I'm in a mental crisis, or I feel sick, or whatever. Look, bro, like, we all have different issues. Like, even as a teacher, you have to put in your best effort, even if you feel like crap. And you put in your best effort every single day. Like, there is no justification for you to, oh, I'm just not gonna care today because I'm not feeling like it. So I don't understand why we let students, oh, you don't feel well today, it's okay, you don't have to take the assessment. But the thing is, like, why can't kids just deal with it or learn how to deal with what's going on and persevere and be resilient? We're not even teaching students how to be those things or to practice those skills. I think if 50% or more of your students failed a major assessment, then the whole class should engage in a reassessment. And you don't even have to call it a retake, but you can teach the concepts in a different way. And for the students who did well on the initial assessment, let's say the other half or the 40%, 30% of students who did well, use them as peer tutors if they feel comfortable with it, or just give them a day off, honestly, because the same students who are doing really well in your class and are studying, they're studying for other classes too. And if we're talking about high school students or seniors or juniors, it's all right. Like, you should trust them and be able to trust them that they're gonna utilize that time to do other assessments or anything else they need to catch up with. But that's just my personal opinion. You know, not every teacher should do that. These retake policies don't allow students to fail or to lose. And when you don't have the opportunity to lose or to fail, you don't have the opportunity to learn how to be resilient. Not only that, but retake policies actually require more work for an already overworked teacher. So not only are students not learning how to be resilient, they're not accountable for their grade. When I was a teacher, administration would point the finger to teachers if a student failed. It was never the student's fault. And a perfect example of this, not just in assessments, but also in rhetoric, a lot of students would come up to teachers and ask this question: why did you lower my grade? Or why did you give me an F? As if it is the teacher's responsibility for your grade. It is not. You earned that F. You earned that L. I would love to hear your thoughts on the unlimited retake policy, because that's what it is. Teachers and schools are not going to say that, but it really is that. But if you have a different grading policy and you'd like to share that in the comments, I would love to hear that. And if you're in a different country, provide your insight on how things work in your country. That would be amazing to hear and to learn. And if you liked this video, if it resonated with you, like it and subscribe for content similar to this. Hasta luego. Bye.